This is good. We have already given 500 people and received 400 back. I think everything will be fair here. We will get everyone we have to get. Unfortunately, it is sad, and it is difficult to talk about it. We gave 6,000 bodies, more than 6,000. In return, we received, in my opinion, 57. And we have already given 6,000 bodies of Ukrainian servicemen, 660, I think. We are ready to give another 3,000 now. I repeat, these are sad and tragic figures. Nevertheless, this is a matter of humanitarian nature. Thank you very much for the platform and President Erdogan. Thank you. But we are ready to negotiate substantively on the principles and regulations, but the Ukrainian side should also be ready for this. Its Western sponsors and so-called allies did not push for the fight against the last Ukrainian, but pointed to the realities of today and pushed for agreements, not for the continuation of hostilities. That is all. We are in contact. Our negotiating group is in contact with each other. I just asked Medensky. He said he had just spoken to his counterpart from Kyiv today. In principle, they agreed to meet after the 22nd of July. But I must say, right away, that both Mr. Fieden and President Erdogan are doing a lot to achieve this settlement. However, as Mr. Trump, the President of the United States, should say, he is also, in my opinion, sincerely striving for settlement. Of course, we will rely on the position of our friends from China, India, and other countries. We are constantly in contact with them on this issue. They are also very concerned about this. When I meet with the leaders of these countries, almost all our conversations start with this, and I tell them about it. And we are grateful to them for thinking about it and looking for a solution to this conflict. Believe me, we also want to complete it as soon as possible and even better in a peaceful way if we can agree.
If tomorrow Israel, with the help of the United States or without the help of the United States, simply conquers Khamenei, what will be your reaction and the reaction of Russia and your first actions? This is the first part of the question.
Mr. Talby, if you allow me, I hope that this will be the right answer to your question. I do not even want to discuss such an opportunity. I do not want to.
Well, they are already discussing it most openly, Mr. Trump, Mr. Netanyahu.
I hear all this, but I do not even want to discuss it.
The second part of my question is also about Iran. There's an agreement on a strategic partnership between Russia and Iran. It does not provide protection for Iran from Russia, but there is a question of weapons. Given the current situation and the sharpness of the situation, are you ready to provide new types of weapons for Iran so that it can protect itself from Israel's strikes?
You know, we once offered our Iranian friends to work in the field of the air defense system. Well, the partners did not show much interest then, and that is all. As for the agreement that you mentioned about a strategic partnership, there are no articles related to the defense sphere. This is the second point. And the third point is that our Iranian friends do not ask us to do so. So there is practically nothing to discuss.
If I'm not mistaken, you have a modified S-300 and a modified S-200. So Russia played a role in protecting Iran in terms of air defense.
You know, this is not quite the case. Because our offer is to create a system, not a separate supply, but a system. As a result, we once discussed this, but the Iranian side did not show much interest in this, and that is all. As for separate supplies, yes, of course, we carried out these supplies at one time. This has nothing to do with the current crisis. It was a so-called regular cooperation in the military technical sphere. Moreover, in terms of international norms, Iran did not ask us to violate the well-known norms signed by the Russian Federation. We did not do anything. We have always remained within the framework of a normative international normative base. Anything else?
Thank you, Mr. Guzman, for the introduction. Thank you, Mr. President, for the opportunity to ask these questions directly to you. I highly appreciate it. As far as the confrontation between Iran and Israel is concerned, since June 13th, the Russian Ministry of Foreign Affairs has condemned the Israeli strikes on Iran. It was said that they were not provoked. These are military strikes against a sovereign member of the UN, against its citizens, peaceful cities, and critical infrastructure. This is absolutely unacceptable. It was said by the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. In relation to Russia's continued aggression in Ukraine yesterday, 28 civilians were killed in Kyiv. Our journalists saw how a Russian missile destroyed an entire city block. How do those positions reconcile themselves? Do you have any plans to meet President Trump or maybe to have a telephone conversation with him?
As for our actions in Ukraine, I have just told your colleague from Turkey in sufficient detail, answering his question. Therefore, I think it would be pointless to repeat it. We believe that we did not start military actions in Ukraine, but we are trying to end them. The current Ukrainian leadership started the war on its own territory after the coup that took place in Kyiv, using armed forces against the peaceful population of the southeast, then the southeast of Ukraine, against Donbass, Lugansk, and Donetsk, including heavy equipment and aviation. They attacked the residential areas. For some reason, no one wants to remember this today, but it was this policy that led to the current armed conflict between Russia and Ukraine. This is the first point. The second point is that if your journalists had seen how our missiles destroyed entire residential areas, they would hardly have been able to say anything to you about it. They would not have survived. If they had seen something, they would have seen it from the outside. The attack was not on residential areas, but on the facilities of the defense and industrial complex, on the factories that produce military equipment. This is what we are doing. We are not keeping any secrets here. One of the goals of the special military operation is to demilitarize Ukraine, that is, to deprive it of its capabilities and to have armed forces that threaten us. To do this, we must either reach an agreement with them, and we agreed on this during the Istanbul agreements in 2020. We also agreed on the size of the armed forces that Ukraine might have. We agreed on the number of armies. We agreed on everything. But then, thanks to the efforts of the Western allies of Ukraine, they threw these agreements into the trash, as I said, and decided to fight us to the last Ukrainian and to a complete strategic victory. This is not possible. Therefore, instead of peaceful agreements, we are forced to achieve this goal with the help of the armed forces, namely demilitarization. We will not allow Ukraine to have armed forces that threaten the Russian Federation and its people. Your journalists have seen these blows. And of course, if we do not reach an agreement peacefully, we will achieve our military goals. Therefore, there is nothing unusual here. I hope that I have answered your questions in this regard. As for the Foreign Ministry's statement, I think it is also clear and very transparent, and it refers to international law. As for our actions in Ukraine and our agreement with international law, I have just told you our logic. From one step to the next, we believe that this completely complies with the UN Charter. As for the Foreign Ministry's assessment, well, this is our foreign